Hi guys, I wanted to do a video today about anger because I'm trying to do little things about each one of the main emotions that I see being a part of what people would describe as being depressed, you know, and anger is definitely one of them. A lot of people describe that when they feel depressed they get angry about things that they wouldn't normally be angry about. Now I've got quite a lot of information on this over the years working with people, and I find it very useful first of all to begin with the fact that, as with anxiety really, anger is it's a natural emotion, it's a very common emotion that we feel, and also it's useful for a lot of us at a lot of times, and without it we would be done for really. So it's very useful. The problem comes obviously when we're snapping or when we've got residual anger from the past or something like that. So I kind of want to break it down in a few different ways. So first of all, it's useful to understand that it's a known fact that there's two sides to the brain. We've got the emotional side of the brain, which normally contains a lot of emotional memories from the past and emotional memories of the way that things were as we were growing up. And then we've got the intellectual side of the brain, which is more about problem solving, dealing with things in the actual current reality that we live in. Now, it doesn't take a genius to work out which one's the strongest one of the two, which unfortunately for us normally is the emotional side of the brain, where things happen. We don't realise that there's a space between action and reaction. We just see literally, that's it. This situation's happened, it's triggered me off. Either the feelings of anger come up and we don't know what to do with them, or the thoughts that we have make things worse and then the anger grows. So one way or another, what we've got to try and do is be present in that space between something happening and us reacting to it. Let's try and be present in that space. Let's try and see for now, at this stage of the game, whether you even know that that space is there. Are you aware of that space? And if you aren't, maybe now is the time to start thinking about that. Let's have a look and see, right. So the situation, like, I'll give you an example. One of the things that really used to bug me when I was driving was when you're in a lane and it's going to merge into one lane and you've got people, that I can say people now, it used to be a lot worse than that, that come down the other side and overtake you and then cause a tailback by trying to cut in further down. And that used to be something that really wound me up, to the point where one day I found myself driving in between both lanes to stop people going past me on the other side, which obviously, you know, that's not healthy really, and it's something that was affecting me to the point of winding me up. And then from then on, like, you know, for the rest of the journey to work, I'd be wound up, you know, if someone sort of cut in or something like that, I'd be like, oh, fucking, you know, and before I know it, I'm angry. Now the thing is, first of all, that anger doesn't get me anywhere any faster. Secondly, the person in the other car can't hear a word I'm saying. They don't really know I'm angry unless they look in the rearview mirror and see me being animated. So the only person that's actually being affected by that anger is me. So secondly, I wanted to sort of, this is kind of where I put this into practice for myself. You know, I was kind of looking at this situation and thinking, right, where's the space then? That's the reaction. The thing that happens. The action is seeing somebody drive past me on that side. So that's where it starts. But where's that space? What am I doing in that space? Am I thinking about it? Am I thinking that, you know, that person obviously has got a bigger agenda than me? They're in a rush. I'm not. I'm in this lane. They're in that lane. You know, am I even looking at it? And from there, what I decided to do was to see how I felt if I kind of accepted it and let them in. So that's what I did the next day. I've got a roundabout near where I live that's notoriously busy early in the morning. So I purposely went that way, purposely went in the left lane, and I let a few people in. I obviously wasn't letting everyone in, otherwise I'd be a problem. But I started letting a few people in, like, you know, that's all right, mate, go on, you go in. Yeah, that's all right, mate, you go in, type thing. And I felt a lot better. And it's the same thing. The person was still overtaking me. Rather than me trying to decide that there's some sort of arsehole who deserves to be slapped, not looking at it that way, but rather looking at it as, all right, mate, go on, in you go, I'll let you in, type thing. Changed the whole approach that I had to getting to work, because I was realising that, look, logically, nothing I can do about it. They're going to go that way. I could also go in that lane if I wanted to, but I choose not to. I'll be in this lane. Now, this might seem like a simple thing and a very small thing, but actually this is kind of an indicator of what it can be like on a grander scale for us, because a situation happens, we react to it. When we react emotionally, we can't get in touch with our logical brain, really. Our logical brain is out for the count. So we act on our emotions, we get right in there, we sort of have a go at someone, we get in the mood, we get the ump, however we react when our anger is triggered in us. And then when we calm down later on, after sort of a couple of hours or a couple of days, depending on how serious the situation was, logical brain then kicks in, and then we think, oh, what did I do? Why did I say that? And then we've got to go back and do a bit of apologising and a bit of groundwork to make up for what we've done. So I would suggest that one of the best ways in order for you to do this is to recognise that there's this space, and recognise that when you're angry, you're going to think differently. You're not going to think the same as what you are about something when you're calm. So we almost have to have like a sort of, it's like a third party. I've mentioned it in other videos about having an observer, where you can kind of watch what's happening within you without identifying with it, without actually attaching your realistic sort of thought process to something that isn't actually realistic at all. It's an emotion that's coming through. It could be residual, it could be from the past, it could be from now, depending on what the situation is, you know. But nonetheless, if we're not evaluating it or actually sort of stepping back and trying to observe it without being judgmental about it and accepting it's anger, and I've only got these thoughts because I'm angry. If I wasn't angry, I wouldn't have these thoughts. We can then kind of almost distance ourselves from that and understand that it's all right. It's okay. I'm not going to react to it the way that I normally would. I'm now going to sort of step back. I'm going to watch. And we become a watchful eye over what we're doing. And this is how we raise our self-awareness. This is how we get ourselves into the driving seat. And this is how we actually kind of step back from a situation that normally would drive us to react in a certain way and cause all kinds of problems, to actually know, like calming down, stepping away from it. So a good place to try this as well is in an argument, you know, like this is a more of a difficult one to try, but nonetheless, it's a really good one. And if you can perfect this, then it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier. Because really, when you have an argument, the argument is because both people want to be right. If one could accept that they're wrong, there wouldn't really be an argument about it. So on some level, not necessarily on the actual point of the argument, but nevertheless on some level. And I see this a lot with teenagers. So I'm going to kind of aim this one at the teenagers in the schools that I work in, because a lot of you have the same problem. A teacher will say something and you don't agree with it, or you don't like it, or they didn't see that someone on the other side of the class was doing the same thing as you, so you've then got pissed off because they haven't been told off and you have. So one way or another, you're getting angry, the teacher's saying something to you, you don't like it, you become emotional because you feel like it's an injustice, and then you've got to get involved in an argument because you need to be right, the teacher thinks they're right. That's where it happens, that's where it clashes. And then an argument, of course, is a negative being thrown at somebody, and then somebody then thinks, I don't want to accept that negative, so they want to defend themselves, so they put their guard up and throw the negative back. And it goes like that, time and time again, while you're having the argument, until one of the people in the argument gets into their logical brain, or adult brain, and decides that that's it, I've had enough. Now with a teacher, they can end it whenever they want by sending you out of the class. If it's your wife or your husband, it's not the same. You normally end up with one of you walking off. So what we've got to do is try to get into this in a different way. So for a student, you've got to understand that the teacher's going to win, really. There's a way around it, there's a way to talk about it, and there's always something that you can do about it, but it's normally not going to be in that moment when you've been triggered and you are emotional and you are going off on one. The teacher's not going to want to listen to you, and bosh, there you go, you're in detention, isolation, whatever. If it's an argument between a husband and wife, in that situation, the same thing's going to happen. You know, one of you has got to get to a point where you can be adult about the situation and admit that, okay, look, we're not going to get anywhere now, we need to leave it. But the problem that we all end up doing in this situation is we don't do that, we go rah, 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 and then our point is lost. The initial point that we were trying to make is gone, because now the argument has turned into you having to apologise because you've said something that you didn't mean, or you've realised that now you're in isolation because you've had to go at a teacher, and your mate down the road, or you know, a few aisles down, who's doing the same thing as you, is happily going home to play his PlayStation that night. So one way or another, this sort of thing does not end up being productive for us. It works against us and it causes us problems. So we need to kind of almost drop the need to be right. And sometimes we get angry about that because we want to be right, we're not right, we argue about it, it makes things worse, we throw a negative at the other person, they defend themselves, guard goes up, throw a negative back, before you know it, you're in no man's land. So this is about kind of raising your awareness to something almost as it's happening, rather than later on, which at the moment you're doing, and you're realising that, well, I shouldn't have said that, that was out of order, I've got to apologise or whatever. That's cool, but it's not really what you want to be doing. You want to do it before, you want to understand before, so you can avoid the situation in the first place. You know, in the middle of an argument, being able to say to someone, all right, look, maybe you're right, maybe I'm right, let's leave it here, this isn't going very well, still love you, I'm going to walk away from this because this isn't working very well. Let's come back to this at a later date when we've calmed down. Something like that. That's a more logical approach to it. When you sort of start shouting the other person down, trying to get your point across, it's not good. And a lot of people don't really know that there's a choice in this because they don't realise there's a space between the action and reaction. They're not in there because they're being triggered from the emotional side of the brain from the past. That's so important to get your head round. Because the thing is, that emotional brain from the past, all those emotional memories, that are stored in that side of the brain from the past. If it's an injustice from a parent, you as a student with a teacher, when the teacher's having a go at you, you may feel the same feelings that you felt when your parents did that to you and you thought it was out of order when you were 4. And you're reliving that situation, and that's what we need to stop. That's what we need to understand and learn about, and then try to cope with it a little bit better so that we're in here, we're being true to ourselves, but at the same time we're doing that in a way that is respectful to the other person, that is taking their feelings into account. But now more than ever we need to be able to do this. If everybody in the world acted this way, the world would be a much better place, but it's not going to happen. So we've got a responsibility. All of us have got a responsibility to do the best that we can with this, so that we're not going around tearing strips out of each other, so that we're spreading a bit more love and a bit more peace to each other, rather than having a go at each other and causing negative emotions. There's enough of that in the world at the moment, without us causing that to each other. And as you know, I always try to bring this back to the self. So this happens with ourselves as well, because something will go wrong, we get angry with ourselves, we start having a go at ourselves. Now, if we was to be able to sort of observe that anger feeling from a different place, then we wouldn't need to be hard on ourselves. We wouldn't identify with the anger. We wouldn't realise, we wouldn't think of that anger as being worthy for us to then criticise ourselves. That wouldn't happen because we wouldn't be identifying with it. So that anger would then be okay, and we could be free of it. It's a useful emotion at times, but sometimes it isn't, and we don't use it as a tool to beat ourselves up or other people up. Not unless we're really in need of defence. And as I say, this really, the way the state of the world at the moment and all the things that are going on in it, the more of us that could practice this, the more of us that could kind of keep our issues off other people, start dealing with them ourselves, observe ourselves in a non-judgmental way, allow ourselves to have feelings and know that each feeling that we have is going to change the way that we actually think. It's a cycle. Sometimes, you're going to think something that's going to make you more angry. Like me in the driving seat. The way I was thinking about those people basically was, look, hang on a minute, mate, don't take the piss. I'm going there, same as you. Why do you think you're better than me? That's really when I examined it and went through it, which I'll, in another video, I'll kind of show you how to do that. So you can kind of get a bit more to the centre of why some of these things are happening for you. But I think that's enough. It's a bit longer than my usual videos, but I think it's quite an important one. I see especially a lot of men with anger issues. I think actually before I stop the video, it's pretty important for me to also say that another theory, and this is one you can look up again from transactional analysis, is racket feelings, where we have a feeling that is triggered by a certain event, but because we find that feeling uncomfortable, or we don't want to kind of show that feeling, we'll put another one in front of it. And for men, it's often anger, because as a kid, if you cry or you're upset by something, or you feel that showing your emotions is weak, then you may want to show a more masculine emotion, which can be sometimes seen as anger, especially if you've got an angry parent, and especially if you've had an angry dad who answered most things with anger, because then you're going to think that that's the best way to react. You're going to think that the best way to get what you want is to be angry. And so sometimes if you and your partner are having an argument and you've become upset by something they've said, you may respond in anger because you don't want to show that you're upset. So getting to know yourself a bit more and looking at some of the earlier videos about the way that you think and this sort of your self-awareness, all this is to basically build that up. A lot of what we've been doing so far is transactional analysis and cognitive behaviour therapy, really. I'm also going to be doing a lot more deeper stuff. I've done a lot more spiritual sort of deeper work over the years with inner child stuff, and I will get into that, but I wanted to kind of do these videos first, which are more sort of easy to digest, more practical, and things that you can kind of get out there and have a go at. Now, also, if any of these videos are sort of not making sense, or you're struggling with getting started on them, or there's anything that you want to know, then please hit me up. I've got all my information is in my YouTube profile. I've got Twitter, I've got Instagram. My wife looks after that for me, trying to put nice pictures up and everything of quotes and stuff. You know, so I really want to try and spread the word about these videos, because I think for the right people, these can make a big difference. All right. So yeah, subscribe, do all that business. You know all that by now. Take care of yourselves, and yeah, see you on the next one.